Well, hello everybody. I hope you're all fantastic. I see some people are in here. Let me know if you can all hear me loud and clear. In the past, I've had some trouble getting live streams started, and I think I've figured out what the issue is, but I would love confirmation. So just let me know where you're all tuning in from and if you can hear me. And I have a super chat already, which is amazing. Thank you. This one is from Sean's Cubs fan 1. Now the Cubs, what are they? I can't remember what team that is. Let me know what team they are. I'm not super up to American sports. Do you think an EVH 5153 can get the Sykes Whitesnake 87 Blue Murder Tone? I don't see why not. I mean, that sound is, pretty filthy. From memory, that was a Boogie Mark III Coliseum. So 180 watts or something ridiculous like that, probably 2 of them. So, I mean, I'm using the Mark IV model in the Axe, which I love. It's probably the closest thing to that. And you can hear there's definitely a bit of that kind of Whitesnake inspired thing going on. Name that Whitesnake song as well. So yeah, I would say with something like that, those amps have so much gain where it's going to be balancing out what's coming from the guitar. So I know for anyone who's familiar, I have a Greco Les Paul copy here that's kind of like a Sykes style thing. I put a Gibson Dirty Fingers in it, and that definitely helps with the crazy screamy pinch harmonics. And I know John's been using modded Marshalls forever, so I see no reason why you couldn't do that. I might even just swap into the Axe, like a 5153 model. Yeah, here we go. This one's ready to go, so should give me some level up. I mean, that's the 5153 model in the Axe, and it's pretty close to where I had the Boogie before. I'll let you hear it without the room sound. That song's originally an E standard, not drop C, but yeah, as long as you're cool with basically the philosophy around it would be the same that the kind of Mark series philosophy is, which is like cut some bass pre-gain, and you could use an EQ or a boost pedal to do that. I'll just keep the bass a little bit lower, probably turn the depth control up a bit to get that kind of giant chungus happening in there, and add some reverb and maybe a bit of delay in the back end, and you should have a pretty good time. So Cubs are baseball. Alrighty, and we got people from all around the US here, and Canada, which is amazing. We have Jelly Didi from Finland, which is awesome. It must be either really late there or really early in the morning. It's almost 10 a.m. here in Perth. Yeah, man, and shout out to Tim. So cool you're in the chat, man. Yeah, the 5153s, it's good. It's high gain made easy. For anyone interested on the amp settings, let me drag that in. Using the magic of the internet, I should be able to, there we go. So what do you have? Like, this is really funny, right? So the first year we toured the States, I went to Guitar Center trying to find a rig. A Guitar Center in Oklahoma City. I think I played basically every amp there, and I ended up getting a 5150, no, not a 5150, a, what's it called? 6505, oh, that's me. Yeah, the PB6505. So the combo, the 112 Plus, I paid $400 for it at the time, and like the Aussie dollar was better than US, so it was like 350 Australian dollars, which is basically nothing. Got this amp, did that tour with it, did the next tour with it. I think we did 30 shows on the next tour in 2013, so did about 40 shows with it, and then I traded it right at the end of that tour. I think I got $200 back. So it worked out something ridiculous where it cost me about $3 per show to have that amp. But I love the way that sounded, and the way I used to set it was like bass and treble at about 6, mid at about 4, and the resonance and the presence facing each other. The point of this story is, like, you can see that that's basically what I've plugged in here, like bass and treble up around 1 o'clock, turn the presence and mids down a little bit, and you have yourself a pretty slam and high gain sound. And I've gone again. What am I doing? All right. Fractal Audio is based in New Hampshire. Yeah, Plaistow, is that the place? I've never been to the factory, but yeah, they're in New Hampshire. So I don't know. New Hampshire's pretty small, right? It's probably one of those small states where you don't have to pay a lot of tax, so a lot of businesses go there, which makes a lot of sense to me. Australia and the US, the state-by-state tax thing always used to get me. You go to the store, you see something, you're like, oh, that's a good price. And then you go and it's like, oh yeah, plus tax, it's what you would probably expect to pay. And you're like, ah. So yeah, here tax is just added. So what you see is what you get. I much prefer that. So this one comes from Charles Wagner or Wagner. How many guitars do you own? Over 30. Don't have an exact number on it, but yeah, this is there's a wall there as well which you can't see, and there's stuff in storage, and there's things in various states of disrepair as well. So hey, Jason Tong. I'm going to show you guys something. If you haven't checked out Jason's channel, Head First Amplification, do yourself a favor, but let's see this really quickly. Sneak peek, if you will. At some point over the next week, this thing is very, very good. Very, very good. You can see the Head First thing on it. This is Troy from the Gear podcast. This is his 77 J&P badge Marshall, and Jason at Headfirst got the chopstick on it, put it that way, and man, it is sounding sick. Such a cool amp. Such a cool amp. That was the one on... Basically, Troy bought that amp and we went and re-recorded the guitars on our first EP because I liked the way it sounded so much. Yeah, so that's pretty funny. Where are we? I used the DGT much live. I have done a total of 2 shows on it so far, so that's soon to be probably many more because we've got a few shows in October. We did a show on Saturday night, and I did the first couple of songs on a different guitar, which I'll talk about in another video. You can see it there. Shout out to the Rubato guitars guys, and more about that. But yeah, then I did this. It's amazing. I love the way it sounds. It's right, people are like, is it your new #1 guitar? I don't know, because I probably have about 5 or 6 #1s now, but it's just awesome. Like in standard tuning, it's incredible, and I use it for a lot of demo videos, but playing it in drop C, man, it's got the chunk, you can get a lot of different sounds out of it. So where was I? So, this is my main, like, Chungus lead patch, right? So I'll just turn the gate down a little bit. But yeah, you get that gigantic thing, but then you can use the single coils and clean it up, and it's a really sweet sounding guitar. So let's do that. So yes, this is a very, very good guitar. I really want to grab an SE at some point. Hopefully when the next shipment comes in, I'll be able to get my greasy mitts on one. I really want to grab a gold top. So yeah, it's a fantastic guitar. It's it works with the things that I like. You know, the single cut is a little bit darker and a little bit... How would I describe it? So the single cut is a little more Sabbath. And this is just that tiny little bit more like Zeppelin. That's the way I would describe it. Even though the stuff that I'm playing sounds nothing like that. But yeah, for the kind of... The single cut in drop C, it's a shorter scale. It's got that kind of thing where, you know, you hit the strings too hard and it goes out of tune a little bit, which I really, really like. But yeah, this is slightly longer scale. It's a little more, this is a little more stratty to me. So that's what I really, really like about that. Trying to catch up on the questions. I should see what's going on here. I'll come back to a couple. I see one from Rumi or Rummy on there, which I want to get to because it's a very, very good question on there. And there's a few others on here. When is Ragdoll's next Sydney show? Work in progress. We've played Melbourne a few times this year, and I love playing in Melbourne, but we haven't been to Sydney since... last year. Actually, about a year ago. Yeah, we played at Frankie's, which is now closed, which is a bit devastating. So, yeah, hopefully soon. We just need another place to play. This one is a super chat from Spiro. Considering an FM9, what are your thoughts on the synth in terms of how articulate, accurate it is? You've played around with it. Okay, good question. So I'll show you a fun patch. There's a few ways I like to use the synth in here. My favorite one is using it to create drones. And let's do... I don't even have my drones patch on here. What's wrong with me? What is going on? That should really be on there. I'll fix this. Give me 1 second. So the drones thing is pretty cool. There's another one. I really like the ring modulator in here as well for like a pseudo synth thing, but I'll bring this patch up and let you all see it. Let's take a look at this. What do we have here? Bada-boom. So you can see a synth in parallel with the main signal. There's an envelope filter in here. There's a few other fun things. And I'm gone again. But let's just hear... let's hear this without the synthesizer and then with it. So this is just a... I'll go through the scenes on here actually. So here's the clean sound. Where are we? Then you put a little bit of filter. Also, shout out to Alessio. How are you, man? Hope you're well. Learning the Portuguese. Okay, so there's that, and then a bit of envelope filter and harmonizer. Don't play Seven Nation Army, you dork. And then with a bit of synth. I'll actually turn this up a little bit and kill the dry sound. So this is use case number 1. I think it tracks pretty well. All right, so that's kind of a silly sounding thing. Let's go through. Well, okay, what I'll do is I'll actually, if you want some just pure synth stuff, if you haven't checked out Simeon Harris's preset, Simeon's genius sound designer, absolute gun on the axe effects. There's very few people who would know more or even as much as Sim knows, but he's got these patches, so there's a few sort of synth strings and Moog style sounds, so I'll go through a few of those because I think they sound amazing. Check this out. So yeah, there's a few things in there. The thing I really like though, let me, I might have to swap over to the FM3 because I should have it on there, is you use a synth block to create a drone, and you use a pitch block to change it into a chord and then change the chords through there so you can kind of play along with different drones, which I really, really like in there. That's a great way to just kind of sit down and practice. And yeah, those kind of traditional synth sounds you can definitely get. I would say the hack with that is that, you know, a normal synthesizer would have oscillators and filters and effects. So use that in here. Use the synth block like a set of oscillators, and then use the filter block, use the tape drive and things like that, and various effects to get what you want out of it. So I want to go to Rumi's question on here though, and I'll bring up this drones thing in a second. Have you ever used a modeler as a preamp into a real power amp? I'm using my HX Stomp Soldano preamp model into the loop of my Friedman small box. Yes, that's actually how I got into modeling. So I bought an Axe-FX Ultra in 2016, thinking what I'll do is I'll just use the preamp and I'll run it into the power section of, say, my dual rectifier, which was kind of my main amp at the time. I was doing some gigs with a dual rectifier and a DSL in stereo, so if I wanted to do that, I could run it in stereo. And then for fly gigs, and this was really motivated by the fact we were doing, we did an East Coast tour in Australia, we did some shows in America, and we did a European tour in the same year, and I was like, I want to have consistent sounds. I don't want to be stuck with crap backline. And yeah, got the Axe Ultra for that, so I was like, look, worst case, I'll just go straight into the effects return of an amp, or I'll go straight to the PA. And yeah, the first couple of shows I did, I loved it. You know, you still get that colossal thud out of your cabinet and a true power amp, but you've got the flexibility of using the preamp in there. I think that's such a great way to do it if you don't want to sacrifice that amp in the room sound, or you just like playing through a real amp on stage, but you want that flexibility. And you know, there's like no right or wrong way to use any of these modeling things. It's just like whatever gets you off. You know, I'm pretty lazy and pretty happy with the direct sounds I get, but yeah, I should just do a gig with a cab for old time's sake and remember how awesome it is to kind of feel your pants flap. So excellent question. I'm going to try and find this drones thing on here and just kind of catch up with this. You're all chatting away in here. Let's see. Ooh. You guys are awesome. There's a lot of good questions in here. Just grabbed an IR-X to pair with my H90. Any more thoughts on the IR-X? It's pretty awesome. I've been playing around with it, funnily enough, using some of my rack preamps and using that as a power amp, and it works great. So I'm going to do an H90 IR-X video at some point over the next couple of weeks. So that should be an awesome rig. It's a Bradshaw rig on the floor, and it's tiny. That's going to be fantastic. Yeah, this guitar is definitely a bit brighter, especially if you hear it, you know, unplugged. It's got that kind of stratty, almost telly-ish kind of thing. The Analog Kid, hello Liam from the USA, thanks for all the Fractal help. It is my pleasure. I'm always happy to know that people actually get something out of the videos that I do. So this one's from Geo Sundance. Howdy ho, guess who has a Tone X on the go? Just ordered one as a backup for my FM3. Awesome, let me know how you like it, because I did a very long video with the Tone X, and you know, I had some criticisms about it, but overall I thought it was pretty amazing. And I guess you could probably just take your main Fractal patch and use the Tone X capture on that, and there's your backup. So that's kind of nice. I'm sure lots of people have been doing that as well. So let's see, where are we at? We got some Victorians in here. How'd you go with the granny? Not a Collingwood supporter, are we? My dad's a massive Collingwood fan, so it was kind of nice to see him actually experience some joy, especially because I'm an Eagles fan, and you know, 5 years ago, the 4 points went the other way. So what pickups are in this guitar? They're just the DGT pickups. The only thing I've changed on this guitar was I decked the trem, which is heresy because I love the trem on this, but if I want to gig it, I deck them, and then I change I put these shiny metal knobs on there. So yeah, other than that, it's amazing. They're worth the money. They're fantastic guitars. I'm so happy with it. Do you mostly play your Fractal units through FR monitors, studio monitors, or guitar cabs? At home, studio monitors. Like 99% of the time. I've got some Red Sound MF10s, and I've got an Atomic CLR, which I will use for gigs where I know the monitoring's going to be crap. But most of the time, like we did a show Saturday night, I just went FM3 straight to the PA and house monitors. We didn't even use in-ears. It was sort of like, well, should we just do it? You know, it's 5 minutes less faffing around, and you know we can all go and have a burger after the gig a little sooner. So yeah, and I thought that sounded really, really good. Actually, Badlands is an awesome venue. We're playing there in a few more weeks. And I can't wait because it's a good sounding room. So I got to try and bring up this drones patch. And hopefully it's on this unit. Let's see. Otherwise, I think there's actually a factory patch in there, like Fremen's drones. Okay, so we'll do this. I'm going to hot swap this, and hopefully you'll all be able to hear this, and I'll do some noodling over the drones. Here's another cable. These braided cables I've been enjoying as well, because they're harder to get tangled up in here. What is this? Pig Hog. That's the cable. Shout out to Pig Hog Cable. Let me plug that in. Okay. Right, let's see if this works. And of course, I don't have the preset on there. Oh boy, I'm a professional, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, have I just deleted all the factory presets on here? I have. What a moron. I have like 3 different presets on here. No, I do have it. Yes, I've got my drones preset on here. Check this out. That's fun. I forgot how much I enjoyed that patch. So yeah, that's the main way I used the synth in there. Sorry, that was a long way around to answer that question. And where's my other cable? Cables everywhere. Hopefully I'm somewhere here. If I miss your question, please ask me again. Let's see. They don't get tangled, and they don't have a memory. That's a great way of putting it. And not having a memory when I'm playing through something sometimes is a nice thing on there. Let's see, where are we at? Do the Metallica dual amp preset. You're talking about that JCM 800 Mark Series thing. I can probably play that for you at some point. I think I've got it on here. So where are we at? What pickups are in the guitar? Mark Tanner going for the Dockers. Won't hold it against you, mate, but Troy will be very, very happy to hear that. So I'll have to remind him on this week's podcast that we've got some Dockers fans in the audience. So he does the pre-game play on top of the stadium Docker rocker thing, which is pretty amazing. So, we are up here. So any of you all play the Soldano SLO30, opinions and experiences? That's a funny question that you asked, because one of the bands that we played with on Saturday was using an SLO30 and an FM3. So FM3 for effects, SLO for the tones. Thought it sounded really, really good. They were doing like a full retro 80s thing. You know, they sounded like Lion or someone like that. So yeah, and Jacob was playing this Purple Caparison, great guitar player, really, really tasty. Had that, like, you know, Soldanos have that thickness about them, and it had that. And Jacob has an SLO and had an SP77, and he loves the SLO30s. So I'll have to try and borrow it at some point and do a video with it. So yeah, there we go. Where are we up to? Jason Tong, have you spent any more time with the EVH SDE 3000? I finally invested some real time with it over the last week and I'm impressed with how deep its functionality is. Even the noise suppressor is killer. Yes, funny story with that one, because I heard from my buddy who works for Boss and, you know, lets me borrow stuff so I can make videos with it, that they were doing that. Hey, James Lugo is in the house. Nice to have you here, James. I've been enjoying the videos, as always. I've been enjoying the vocal tapes, and yeah, it's so awesome. It's awesome to have you in here. Anyway, yes, the EVH delay. I actually sent it back recently. I did a video with that and the Strymon Dig side by side because the Dig has some pretty unique things that it does. It has this series ping pong mode, which I thought nothing else did. And I was playing around with the SDE and I was like, oh, I wonder if it can do that series ping pong thing. And because you've got two separate delays and you can route them how you like, and it gets pretty close. There is a funny thing with the modulation phase on it. That was one, I don't know if it's a bug or something like that, where you can hear it kind of sounds like there'll be points where the modulation sounds like it's at 90 or 180 degrees out of phase with the main signal, and other times when it's in. So I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if the real units do that. But yeah, it's a killer delay, man. Especially because it's got the same buttons, you know, it kind of feels like using a rack unit. It's got some heft in there. So literally the only reason I didn't end up buying it is that I bought a Dig V2 recently, and that's got presets in it, and I think the Dig's now my favorite kind of delay pedal. So yeah, awesome unit though, man. And for the wet dry wet thing as well, like that's amazing that it can do that in the box. It was one of those units where I'm like, I actually can't believe that they're making this. So yeah, what a time to be alive. Bob Warren, thank you for tuning in. There'll be some more vids coming. I appreciate that. We got someone from Paris. We got Brad Burns in here from Canada. I would love to come to Canada one day, man. The Snow Australians, as we like to call them. Can we get a taste of that Friedman IR-X again? I'm waiting for mine to come in the mail tomorrow to pair with an H90. H90 and IR-X seems to be the thing. I like that. Like I said, I'm going to do a video with that. And we've got Jake Stevens. Thanks for tuning in. And a question about increasing alternate picking speed from the Analog Kid. I'll get onto that one in just a second. But JJ Don, I do not have that handy at the moment. It's sitting up on a shelf behind me. But I did spend a bunch of time nerding out trying to match it in the Axe, and I feel like I got pretty close. So my favorite sound on there, I'll just play you this. This should pass the smell test, as we like to say. So here's the IR-X tone match preset. I like it. I think that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, it is. It's thick Lizzy, as JJ Don would put it. And we have Silas Steele from Oklahoma. Where are you in Oklahoma, mate? Spent a lot of time in Oklahoma over the years. Have some good friends there, and that was like a little hub whenever we'd tour the Midwest. So yeah, that delay as well for anyone interested, because we were speaking about the SDE EVH delay. I measured it. Of course I did. So preset number 1 on there, I measured as 798 milliseconds on one side, 398 on the other. Basically like a 2-to-1 ratio with the delays, and a 1-to-2 ratio with the feedback on there. EQ is, pretty sure there's just basically the vintage digital model in there, no mod. Yeah, that EVH style delays in there. So, your hands ever ache from playing so much guitar? James, that is a good question, because what I have noticed is, I should close this window first before answering this. I gotta put these in a different order. Let's do that. And Ryan and I do like a Friday. We've got a residency at a really lovely kind of little pub. It's in a place called the Swan Valley, for anyone who is familiar with Perth. And you kind of play outside on a little marquee, and you know, we've been doing it for a while now. So especially through winter, man, playing outside and playing acoustic guitar a lot of the time. Yeah, the cramp kicks in. You know, it's sort of like one of those things where people say, "What's the hardest thing?" You know, feels like something a 6-year-old would ask you. What's the hardest thing you can play on the guitar? Thinking it will be some, you know, shreddy, ridiculous thing. But the shreddy, ridiculous stuff is, this is going to tie into the next question with alternate picking. You know, it's all built around efficiency. Like, I feel like I can do that all day. Cool. You know, do some legato stuff. I've done this so much that, I don't know, maybe I'm just dead inside. You just do that. Play like Gimme One Reason by Tracy Chapman in the middle of winter on an acoustic guitar, playing just 7th chords as a bar chord. Oh my God, that is a miserable experience. And the main acoustic that I play doesn't have a strap pin here, so I got to do the, I call it the Elvis thing, you know, the old thing where you tie the strap around the headstock here. So the guitar kind of sits weird as well. I was basically like, I was waking up on Saturday playing a bit of guitar and going like, oh man, I must be sleeping funny because my hands are aching. And yeah, I think it's actually that. I think it's just playing like cowboy chords and bar chords for 3 hours straight and, you know, trying to get around that. So yes, I found actually my Strat, my hand has, I don't know if it's because I've been playing this and it's a slightly narrower, deeper neck, that I get on the Strat, and I don't know, the hand position I'm using, I have to be really, really mindful of it. Otherwise my hand will sort of cramp. I don't know, putting too much pressure through my thumb or something. And of course, when I play a Strat, you know, it's like you do the Hendrix thing, you put your thumb over the top, and it's default, right? So it may just be that. Have you tried the Keeley Halo? What did you think of it? I haven't, but I would love to. Everything I've heard from it sounds amazing. Obviously, there's like the Halo style thing, but you know, he's got the kind of Rockman style delays in there, which I really like as well. And yeah, I really should grab one because I love Keeley stuff. But like I said, I grabbed a Strymon Dig V2. I should let you guys hear that in a second because it's pretty awesome. You've been checking out Neural Amp Modeler anymore since you made your video? Yes, I actually, with a buddy of mine, I don't know if you're familiar with Roman Asafis, who does some great stuff and has done a bunch of NAMM stuff. I did my video and he was like, oh, could you reamp this NAMM thing through your Soldano? So I did that, and I think he shared that. I did it at 3 different settings, so there should be my Soldano on the NAMM Tone Hunt or whatever it is. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing what's going down with that kind of machine learning stuff for guitar. Anyway, let's talk about alternate picking very, very quickly. The first thing you should do is watch Intense Rock 1 by Paul Gilbert, and then the second thing you should do is watch some of Troy Grady's Cracking the Code. I feel like those two things just bookend my experience with practicing alternate picking. So the long and the short of it basically is like there's the classic example for me is that Paul Gilbert sixes thing. Like that. Do that lots and feel it and let your body experience what it's like to have to go through that. But then one thing that I was doing, and if you find older videos of me and you watch my right hand, was I was laying my wrist flat on the body and picking like that, which is... Actually can't do it. What it does is it kind of causes your pick to... What's the best way to do this? Let's say this is the pick. There you go. To sort of like, instead of slanting downwards, it was kind of slanting upwards. And it was just making some things difficult to play. For example, playing a... scale thing. Having lots of gain helps as well. Like, it's a thing people don't really talk about. Like, yes, it's awesome to have a clean technique, but the mid-gain stuff is really hard to do with picking. Whereas you put lots of grease on it. Now we're talking. So with that hand position, that would be... it was just scrubby and not awesome. I don't know. It was not consistent. That's the thing that got me. The other thing as well was keeping my hand anchored in one spot. So when I play on the E string, I'd have to kind of reach with the pick, and it would change the pick slant on it. So basically just I watched like one of Troy's videos, and I was like, oh, pick slanting. That makes total sense. I don't really need to go too deep into the whole system, but I'm going to do that. So, you know, if I was going to play a multi-string thing now, my two cues are one, to hold on to the pick. Luckily you've got another one here. And the other one is basically this part of my wrist I try to have in the air, so that's off the body. This part of my wrist is on here, and that's like that gives me the pick slant, and then my hand will kind of track up and down rather than just being planted here and like reaching over. So the pick slant stays consistent. So you go rather than anchor flat. That's basically all I think about, and then find some sequences to practice and do things that are musical and not just... Anyway, that's a very, very short, condensed version of talking about this. I should just make my own Hot Licks video with all the cheesy titles and stuff and do that. So, good question. Hopefully some of those things help. Like I said, go and watch Intense Rock and enjoy the journey, because it is quite a journey with this stuff. This one comes from Don Lee. Scott Gorham calls you and says, Lizzy needs another guitarist. Do you say yes? Without even thinking about it, that would be a dream gig. They're basically the reason I got into playing rock guitar. Scott is still when I think of what a rock star should look like, it's Scott Gorham. Yeah, that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you know, as long as they play some stuff off Thunder and Lightning, so I can play some of those side things. Oh, it's the good stuff. This one comes from Brad Burns. On my PRS, the strings always seem stiff in standard tuning, which I prefer. Do you have that issue? Yeah, I kind of like it. So I just basically use Elixir 10 to 52s, the nano webs, for everything. Like everything. And then sometimes I change gauge or brand. I'm like, oh, this is novel. So I guess they probably feel more like 9s in drop C. But then in standard, if your guitar's well set up, the thing that it changes to me is like how much kickback you get against. It's more a right hand thing than a left hand thing for me. You know, it's sort of like you get more, it's like taking a car and making the suspension tighter. If that makes sense. So big thank you, Alessia, for the super chat as well. I miss you too. I might need to pick your brain about a few recipe things. So I massively appreciate that, man. And you're not punishing me by making me play Exodus just yet, but I may have just planted that. But look, this is for you. Let me just mute my mic. Where's my mic? There it is. sometimes you just got to really lean into those absolutely terrible notes that you pull out of the guitar. Making chicken tenders, ooh yeah, that sounds very, very, very good. We have Hit Metalworks from Vancouver Island. Thank you for joining in. Have I missed any questions? Fire away with any questions, because I think he's going to hang out for a bit more. I might play a song. I'm going to play the new Ragdoll song, actually. So I'll give you guys Sky's Limit and fire some questions, and I'll get back to you in about 4 minutes. Let's do that. All right. So that one's called Sky's Limit, if anyone wants to go and check it out. We played that, when did that come out? July. We were over in Melbourne doing a show, so that was the first time we played it, and then we've played it 3 times live now. So playing it Saturday night was like the first time where it felt like, yeah, okay, this is a Ragdoll song, and I know how to play it, and it fits in the set, and, you know, I'm not constantly thinking like, oh, what's the next part? How do I do that? Yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed playing that one on Saturday. The other thing as well on Saturday was I just forget how easy guitar is when it's loud. like when you have concert level electric guitar, it's a different animal. Everything comes alive. Pinched harmonics are easier. It's easier to do legato. You know, your guitar just, I don't know, all that extra air moving gives you some reinforcement or something. It was so good. So good. It's been like a couple of, maybe not a couple of weeks. When was the last loud gig we did? It was probably in August, so, you know, all of a month. But having said that, you know, being able to actually play stuff loud is pretty exhilarating. Have you ever met in person someone you never thought you would? Oh, yeah, plenty of people. The big one for us was we hung out with Doug Pinnick in 2014. So we did a show at the Whiskey in LA, and we were opening for Skid Row. Long story short, a friend of a friend does a rock magazine, and the KXM album was just out. He was like, do you want to interview Doug? I interviewed Doug, and he was like, oh, if you're ever in LA, come and hang out. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, that's going to happen. And yeah, when we were over there, hit him up, and we went and had dinner and ate ribs and just had a fat night out. And then he came to see our show, and, you know, Doug was really, really nice. Really genuine sweetheart of a dude, and just such an amazing singer, and, you know, big inspiration. Very, very big inspiration. Doug's the best. So that was pretty cool. There's been a few other people, other bands we've played with where you're just kind of like, oh my God, I don't want to seem weird, but actually that same night I said to Dave from Skid Row, I was like, oh Dave, you know, man, that first Skid Row album, I think I bought it when I was about 18 or something. I was like, it arrived at a really important part in my life. And he just goes, yeah, dude, it arrived at a really important time in my life as well. So, yeah, they were all really cool. They were, you know, just family men, and they played really well. And we, when we finished, we were basically just like hanging out with all their wives and kids, and it was absolutely surreal. So that was pretty cool. Have I tried the Bill Lawrence Q filter? No, I haven't, but I probably should, because my very first parts caster that I built had Lawrence's in it, and I love that thing. I still probably got the pickup somewhere. I have to try to pull them out. So are they still doing the Bill and Becky pickups? I know Bill has passed away, but I should probably grab some of those. So there's a question about the Mark Series amps over here. All sounds good, but can you play Smoke on the Water? Nah, you got me right there. This one's from Strange Days. Looking to fuzz pedals to use with my recently acquired SG Special with P9 is. Ooh, this is an interesting one. So, you know, obviously, I would say the three primary flavors of fuzz are your tone bender style thing, your fuzz face style thing, and your big muff style thing, and then everything else. So my personal favorite, like, versatile fuzz is the Way Huge Swollen Pickle. I would say start there, and you can kind of morph that. It's, you know, it's a modified muff, but there's a bunch of kind of things that it does. So yeah, that should get you dooming pretty quickly. I love those. Scott Chamley, here's the question: do you usually push or pull the presence on your Mark IV for chunk? I'm pretty sure push. So, and I do the same thing with the model. So I've got the USA lead mid gain here. I'll tell you what, let's do this. We'll copy that channel over here, and I'll pull the presence shift. So this is with the presence shift. I'll mute my microphone 1 second. It actually changes the character of the amp as well. So yeah, I think I prefer it pushed. There's something a bit more like percussive about it. I don't know. It's, as long as it's on the mid gain mode, I'm happy. But I always forget about the presence, pull presence function on there. So I'm not sure what way around it is on the JP2C. But that's awesome as well. That's an amazing amp. So this one is from Michael Lenoff. Timeline, Future Factory, or the Boss EVH delay. Do you have a favorite of those three? Man, that's a good question. I'm going to go for a fourth choice. I'm going to say the Dig. the Strymon Dig, because I have one on my board. I recently just bought one. I got one of the V2 ones. So all this, there's some stuff happening over here, but you can see the Dig. I did a side-by-side with the V1 Dig and the EVH delay. This is all fallen off. What's happening? There we go. I'll fix that later. And I could get them sounding really, really similar. The Future Factory does some genuinely different things on there, and it's a very, I don't know, it's a different interface. I think you'll either love it or hate it on there. If you're coming from Rax, you probably love it. And speaking of Rax, ladies and gentlemen, the Rack Daddy himself, Michael Toran, is in here. Everybody say hey to Mike. I saw your email today as well, Mike. I'm gonna get to it. So let's. Oh, this is a really good question. Anyway, Michael, out of those three, I think if you needed to do everything delay, the timeline's great. And if you just want like those sounds, the EVH delay's amazing and does a lot more. And the Future Factory, I think if you wanted to have like a what you see is what you get kind of pedal, they all sound incredible. So Scott Brockway as well. Shout out to Scott. What else do we have? Sorry, we need more guitar reviews on the channel. We do, and hopefully I'll have some soon. Like I said, the DGT SE and the Rubato is back in the house. There's been a few things there, so yeah, that's gonna be some more stuff. I should just, like, my friends all have amazing guitars. I should just borrow a guitar a week and review it or something. So that would be pretty cool. An 80A MP1 for less than $500 these days, Scott, is incredible, let alone 180s. So that's a great score. Well done. Well done. Oh, this is a spicy one. This one's from Stephen P. Any solution for awful sound guys? I've had some brutal results with them despite going front of house or using a cab. If we have any sound guys in the chat, make yourselves known, because I always err on the side in that situation that I'm a dickhead, you know, that if there's a problem, I'm a dickhead. But while I am a dickhead, I feel like having a dickhead sound guy is one of those, it's like going to the licensing center, or it's like having to renew your passport, you know. It's just one of those things where sometimes the less you do, the less awful it is. So any efforts you make sometimes can only just kind of push the needle in the wrong direction. Yeah, it's, I think the main thing is this, right? If you are worried the monitoring situation is going to be crap, then bring a monitor or bring a cab, you know? That's, I still feel like the default is, you know, whether you're using a head or a modeler and a power amp, stuff coming out of a guitar cab, most venues, most sound guys are going to be used to that and they'll know how to deal with it. But yeah, I feel like you have that kind of axis of, you know, this is like anything. Sometimes the sound guy is great and the venue is maybe just the gear they've got is subpar, or the room itself is crap, or the people running it is crap. You know, if it's someone with a bad attitude and it's a bad room, then it's one of those things where you're like, well, maybe we just shouldn't play there, you know, because when you start off playing in bands, you want to say yes to everything. And it depends on the context. If it's your original band or your project and you're trying to, you know, do your thing and you're booking those shows, then I think that's totally reasonable. And you should go, well, we'll just never play there again. We'll find somewhere else to play and, you know, they can stick it. If you're playing in a cover band and, you know, you're getting paid to do it, then like in those situations, I just shut up and grin and bear it and let them do it. And in the kind of situation where maybe the venue's really good, but the front of house guy's not, then it might be one of those situations where if you can afford it, like find someone who you trust to do your front of house. And, you know, if you're getting to that stage where your band's doing bigger and bigger shows, or they're more important shows, or, you know, you're doing an album launch or EP launch, don't be like the few $100s you might spend on using your own sound guy. It's probably going to be well worth it, because they'll get someone who knows your songs and knows your sound. And if they need to bring some gear in, they can do that. You know, they're like the fifth member of the band, the fifth Beatle, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's my advice there. Sometimes if it's avoidable, I mean, if you can, best case scenario, use your own sound person. In situations like that, yeah, just don't make it any worse is kind of always the situation. And, you know, man, shit happens sometimes. Sometimes live sound is just dog shit, and other times it's the greatest thing you've ever heard in your life. That's part of the great struggle with all of this, isn't it? Yeah. There's my philosophy of, you know, life goes on is probably the best way to say it. So, speaking of guitar reviews, have you had any experience with Sir? Yeah, my buddy Troy has an amazing Sir, and I have a few other friends with amazing Sirs. They deserve their reputation. John does amazing stuff. I almost bought one in 2013 in the States, and the price was so good that I'm still kind of kicking myself that I didn't. So, yeah, the Kitty Hawk Quattro, any good? I have one sitting in a rack here, and I've got a demo video with it, so I think you should go and check that one out. It's interesting. The history with Kitty Hawk and Dumble and all those kind of things is well worth reading into. But yeah, looking inside it, I can see why like Red Beach called them Shitty Hawks. The construction quality maybe isn't the best, but there's some pretty awesome sounds in there. So Robert Twitty bought an Epiphone /J45 and it's excellent. Had a Gibson J45 for 4 years and sold it. Well, Robert, are you still in Thailand? I imagine the monsoon is not kind to acoustic guitars though. And we got Axlinger from BC in here. Yeah, this is a great question here from Tyler Brunel. This is a super chat. How did you develop your understanding of what makes a great live tone? I've gone through all sorts of gear and I typically end up with the same unsatisfactory results. What Scott said, like, mids are your friend. Expanding on that though, let's do this. I'm going to bring up my live preset so you can see it. And we did a podcast with Angus Clark recently, who plays with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I've pinched one of Angus's tips in there where, let me run you through this. This looks insane, but there's not that much going on. So this is the stereo version of the preset, and the stereo thing is this dual D tune, which is matched to my Eventide, which I'm really happy with. So without it, that, and if you're listening through your phone or you're listening at low volume on your TV or computer speakers, it probably sounds a bit dull. When you absolutely crank that up, you know. So sorry, I'll get to that point. There's the amp. There's a bit of a gate. Using my cab, no high or low cuts here, but I have high and low cuts here, and I mean, this is one thing you can do with it, where you pull out a bunch of low end and a bunch of high end and you make some surgical cuts. But actually, this has been what I've been doing live. High cut at around 5.1K. That was Angus's advice there. He was like, you know, he's playing in stadiums and his sound guy was like using the Axe effects. They settled on 5.1K. He sounded good there. So that's what I've been using. Without it, I mean, it's awesome when you're just playing it alone in the room. You've got all that extra sizzle up the top. You make that really, really loud, and because of the way we perceive sound as humans, doesn't scale up linearly. That high-end stuff is going to make your ears hurt, and the low-end stuff is going to make everything boomy. So you rip that out, and then, you know, something like a Mark Series amp, people will look at the EQ on it, you know, the output EQ, and be like, whoa, you're pulling out so much mid-range, right? But they're so mid-heavy, you know, it's like, that's the sound. That's where it is without the EQ, which I don't mind, but it kind of sounds like a bee in a jam jar. So you're like, okay, cool, I'll pull down 750 and I'll boost up a bit of 80 and like a tiny amount of the high end in there, and you know, you go from... That's for the rhythm sound. The other thing as well is it's really important what the bass is doing. Really important. Like Ryan, for the longest time, has just been playing a Sans amp straight into the PA. He has a great sounding Ernie Ball Music Man Stingray, that with a Sans amp has this like grind about it that, you know, you probably get a whole bunch of extra information in that like 300 to 500 to 800 hertz regions. So having a chunky sounding bass guitar with a bit of grind and distortion on it, and then working around that, you know, the boogies are really, really mid-heavy, so you kind of just sculpt that around the bass tone is really important. And then like what you play is really important as well. You know, I wouldn't use this sound if I was playing like classic rock stuff strictly. I'd use a Marshall style thing, or, you know, if I was playing a funk gig, I definitely wouldn't use this. But for what we do, that's sort of that's the crux of it. So yeah, post gain mid-range, you know, that's kind of what you want. And I don't know, maybe somewhere between the 1 or 2K zone, you kind of got to find the point where your sound isn't interfering with the bass guitar, standing on its own, and optimize that, maybe cut a little bit around the bass in there. So yeah, that's my advice there. Use a Mark Series amp or a JCM 800 style amp. One alternative I have in here is, where is it? Yeah, this is, and it's almost the same sound. This is dialed into Marshall style thing. So I also have that in the back pocket, and I also have like a Soldano version of what we were doing. Yeah, this kind of thing. It's cool. Something like that anyway. So yeah, that's getting the IR right, getting the gain staging right, and not being afraid, I was going to say, to like really get busy with either a big low cut or a big high cut in there. So yeah, mids are always the answer, but where you put the mids is important. Very, very important. Is it pre-gain? Is it post-gain? You know, is your amp already maybe a bit too mid-heavy and it's going to sound like just honky and annoying? You can bring the mid-range down. So, you know, on a Marshall, on an old Plexi, you can turn the mids all the way up, and that's where the source is at. On a Boogie, Mark Series Boogie, maybe you want the actual mid control quite low because that's pre-gain. Maybe you want to pull a bit out with that 750 slider, but leave a bit in with the 240s. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. It's just a lot of doing it wrong and going through the process you're going through there. You know, speaking to your sound guy, hey, what did it miss? Oh, well, I had to boost up, you know, 2K. Cool, I'll add some 2K to my preset. Oh, there's a bit too much of something in there. Okay, I'll pull a bit of that out. So it's an iterative process. It's the best way I can say it. I need a sip of my tea right here. So let's see. Okay, Silas Still, this is an awesome question about clean sounds in a mix. Let me, actually, on the DGT, I'll just go to single coil mode. I mean, there's only a handful of gigs a year that I do with a keyboard player. But one thing that I found, and the last gig I did with a keyboard player, it was interesting, the sound guy mentioned this. I did the majority of the gig on a Strat. I think I played a few songs on a Les Paul. And he kind of said, he's like, yeah, it was really interesting. The Strat, you know, on its own, when you were sound checking, was like a bit kind of jangly sounding and a bit tinny sounding. He's like, but when you have the keys in there, you know, the keyboards they take up so much space that you need those annoying things. Why do I still have this thing on here? Let's do that. Okay, now you can see me. Leon made a mistake. Believe me, the majority of what I do is make a mistake. I don't know what the uneco magnets are in these either as well, but what was I saying? Keyboards. Yeah, it's, let me see. Let me bring something up for you. What would I do in that kind of situation? Okay, So here's a good example. Is this a good example? Okay, here's a Vox style thing that I've got going on. This is with like a deluxe memory man, and is it? Here we go. So turn that up for you. Actually sounds really, really cool. So for that kind of thing, you know, this is with a delay before the amp. So that kind of thing. What I would do is I would add a little bit of grit to that. So not going, like, that's really clean, right? So you could use something, you know, if you're using a Fractal, like use the SDD preamp or something, because that's a great one to add some chime or the tape distortion. Yeah, just give it like, just a little bit. Just a little bit of something. Where is that SDD? I think I prefer that one. Yeah. Maybe that's a bit much. Okay, here we go. So you're kind of going from... That's a really dirty kind of memory man thing there. But yeah, basically, or, you know, even if I just took this, like a kind of... really, really clean. On its own, that sounds pretty nice. It might just lack a bit of emphasis in there. So, again, if I try that SDD thing on here, drive quite low, not a lot of level. Like, you can tell there's something going on its own, but it doesn't lose the fact that it's... Just a little bit of grind, I think, can be really, really handy, or a bit of chime, you know, from like a Vox AC style amp. Yeah. My most hated piece of advice is all knobs at noon. Look, all knobs at noon definitely works for a lot of stuff, but the prevalence of let's start with all the knobs at noon in a demo just kind of tells me that you don't know what the pedal or the thing is doing. Like, if you're demoing a drive pedal, I want to know what it sounds like with the drive at minimum. Start there. If you're demoing a chorus pedal, I want to know what it sounds like with the rate at minimum. If you're demoing a boogie amp and you start with all knobs at noon, I feel for you. You know, maybe you've just never played one before, but I get all knobs at noon as like, I want to start with something neutral, but all knobs at noon does not mean neutral. So anyway, there's a little rant for all of you. When you get hands on the new MXR Zakk Wylde audio pedals. I didn't know that there was such a thing. What's going on here? MXR Zakk Wylde. I see that this has come out in like the last 24 hours, so interesting. I hadn't even heard of them. Wow. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Is this a thing? I see PMTV UK, who could be my twin. We never know that. So what's going on here? Black Label Society, Pantera. So Wylde Overdrive, Wylde Chorus, Wylde Phaser. So have they updated them, or it's an anniversary thing or something like that? Interesting. Interesting. Let's take a look. What do we got here? I should probably just go to the MXR website if it exists on the internet somewhere. Or maybe it's on Gear News. They always are a pretty good little aggregator website for this kind of thing. Let's take a look. They haven't mentioned it that I can see. So yeah, what like is just like they've upgraded them or relisted them or something like that. Guitar Center have them on pre-order. Well. Interesting. I wish PRS was lefty friendly. I feel for lefties, man. You know, not only have they chosen to play guitar the wrong way around, but there's also no guitars for them to play. That's cruel. That's cruel. I shouldn't be saying that. I saw they just release a bunch of SE models as a Lefty, but yeah. I don't know. Who is Lefty friendly? ESP seem to have a lot of Lefty stuff. I imagine companies like Schecter and stuff like that are. PRS has the SE McCarty, but I want the American PRS. I feel you're right there. I feel like there should be able to get a Lefty DGT and enjoy what I'm enjoying right here. What? MXR are working on Randy Rhoads pedals. What? Tell me more. Tell me more about this. Is this just a rumor, or is this something that's been leaked? Or oh, here we go. This is from 2022. Okay, I'm right up with the times. Randy Rhoads' sister revealed that the late guitarist's legendary chip pan pedal board was examined in detail for the first time in 4 decades. Yes, that's awesome. And it's called the chip pan pedal board because it sounds like it's shh, right? It's frying. Here we go. Awesome. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Well, I look forward to those coming out. I wonder if it's going to be one of those things where they just measure everything. And my concern would be that 40 years of the pedals sitting around, maybe some component values have drifted or something like that. But yeah, that's exciting. Ned Flanders is Lefty friendly. The Leftorium, of course. I have a lot of favorite PRS episodes, but PRS Simpsons episodes. A lot of favorite PRS episodes as well, but that is definitely one of them. So, Scott, thank you for that. I'm excited. Idea for a channel series: other people's guitars review. You travel the world and review your friends' guitars and amps. I mean, I really couldn't ask for a better thing. Reviewing my mates' guitars. I think it might have to happen. Lefty DGT for $8,000 US. Wow. So it's not cheap being a right-handed PRS player, but a left-handed PRS player doesn't sound very fun. This one's from Red Robin. I'm on yet another pick dilemma. I've gone back to the Tortex Jazz 1.14s, jumped from Altex to Flow to D'Addario. Have you ever gone through pick phases looking for the perfect pick? Yes. Yes, I have. And sometimes, like a lot of things in life, if you just feel like you're constantly searching, you have to tell yourself, who cares? Who cares? Just use the picks that you have around you. And I get that struggle so much because I went through a similar thing. Like I settled on these 1.35 Tortex Jazz 3s. They make me happy. I'm done. I got the pick. I got the strings. I'm pedals, rack gear, modelers, guitars. Don't mind chasing those things, but picks and strings, for the moment, I think I'm done. So yeah, I know that pick journey very, very well, and I think I've tapped out. I never tried the purple plectrum picks though. Let's see. What does a PRS LT signature model look like in your mind? Kind of like that black single cut, but maybe with the pickup, the pot scenario of the DGT or something like that. Definitely push pulls on it. That would be pretty sick. But yeah, pretty much that guitar. That's the one. That's the Ragdoll guitar, right? So it wouldn't be that. You can basically go and buy my signature guitar. You know, you find a black single cut and you're done. Or find a single cut that's any color you like. Tortex Jazz 3 XL. You know what? I never really tried the XL Jazz 3s. The other picks that I use a lot are the green Dunlops, the 0.88 or the 0.7 or the 1mm, whatever one they are. They're green. They're awesome for playing acoustic guitar and for playing rhythm guitar when you're recording. I really like the sounds. So, yeah, exactly. There's already a lot of great PRS single cuts. I don't have a 513 though. Or the, what's the other one? The 60, it's not a 605, is it? Screw your sound settings at noon, then it's easy to see. There is that aspect of it, Robert. I know someone else's gear. Oh, Gary Davlin. That's it. That's the one. Oh, James Hetfield uses the green ones. James knows what's up. Me and Troy have spent a lot of time in the studio tracking rhythm guitar together. And yeah, there was a moment where he was like, what pick are you using? Try this green one. And we did it, and it was like listening back to the takes. It was like, yeah, it actually sounds like noticeably better for playing rhythm guitars. So yeah, the green Dunlops, man, like I can live with those. Do I have one? Probably not. Not that I can see close to me. So yeah, I'll happily use one of those. I tried some of the flows recently. They're pretty awesome. They're pretty awesome. Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, why would anyone use a triangle pick? And I was like, because you get 3 picks for the price of 1, right? That's kind of the appeal. I'm a bit out of tune. Fire away with some more questions. I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer, and then I shall depart. And got some fun stuff arriving today. So I see Fender have a new model coming out, which is going to be interesting to try. I think tomorrow is the official launch date, but a bunch of people have leaked it, so I don't feel like I'm speaking out of turn in saying that, you know, it looks like it'll be pretty interesting, kind of like their take on a quad Cortex style thing. Starlers, man, the Starlers are cool. I really like the way they look. I would love to find one day. The Mirror is another really underrated PRS as well. I think they sound great too. Sad Wings Raging, thank you for the super chat, man. That is very, very generous. Yeah. I hope you're well, mate. And I always look forward to your comments as well, because, you know, you feel it. I think we feel it the same way. We feel the same way, and we feel it the same way. Awash 2004. I want to learn scales, but I only know chords. But I don't know single scale. What scale would you recommend I learn first? Well, learn the minor pentatonic scale, and if it's the only thing you learn, you can go and make a lot of money with that scale. And then you can think of all the other scales as like, you know, it's minor pentatonic with some bonus bits, or it's had a nip and a tuck here and there. So yeah, learn the box shape, learn the, and learn the phrasing shape. You can do everything you need with that thing, and yeah, everything else. Man, actually, yeah, it's my wife is away for the next 4 days, so I'm on full-time cat care, so that's actually going to come in very, very handy. And maybe I should see where they are. They're both asleep. That's probably a good thing for now. I might not want to disturb them, so, but I appreciate that. JD Analog. only know scales. I want to learn chords. Yeah, you just do the scale all at the same time, right, bro? Just a bit of. Ooh, good question. Is there anything else out there that does the Eventide Eclipse manifold beta? I want that effect. Sorry, manifold beta, but not for $2,800. Yeah, man, that's such a cool effect. Such a cool effect. I should be able to patch some Eclipse in for all of you. Let's try this. Hopefully this will work. I'll just give it a second. I'll bring that program up. Yeah, it's like a looper with a pitch shift thing, and yeah, I wish they would just release that as a pedal. I guess there's stuff like the hologram microcosm, which I haven't tried. I don't think it's actually that similar, but you know, does a glitchy thing. Let's see if this works. Where is? And where's all my grease at, dudes? What are we doing? What are we doing in Cleanland? that makes me pretty happy. Why is there no... my Eclipse is on the Manifold Beta program. I just need to... Let's see. I'm getting no signal. That's not the one. That's not the one. Here we go. This is the Manifold Beta program. So transparent, yeah. Like, this is awesome. Actually, you know what? You know what might get you close to this is even try to do a pedal called the Rose. This is so fun. I'm just going to mute that though, and we'll come back to it. Yeah, they do a pedal called the Rose, which is... So it's a digital delay line with analog filtering and a feedback path, but the modulation in it is sample rate modulation, like an old PCM42. So you can, there's also like a time stretch style thing on there. So you can kind of do some stuff like that on there. Otherwise, if you've got a Fractal, I've got a preset called Tape Loops, which kind of does a similar thing. Again, not exactly the same, but pretty fun. I think it's predicated on, like, you know, if you took a tape machine and sped it up to twice the speed, it would give you an octave higher style thing. Okay, I just needed to change that. So, yeah, and like the Rose is a delay, so most of the demos you'll see are delay sounds, but the fact that you can set it as a, you know, you can have a half speed and a reverse on there. You can actually have a third speed, a quarter speed, and a fifth speed on there, which is pretty amazing. So can't wait to see it does plugged in through a microcosm. Yeah, tell me more about the microcosm, because it's been one pedal I have been umming and ahhing with. I really want to try one. I don't think they really have a dealer here, and all the used prices I see are like people sell it more used than they are brand new. So how would I describe the PRS sound? Depends which one you get. You know, this one's like an awesome old Strat and old Les Paul together. My single cut kind of has its own thing. It's a modern Les Paul. The Silver Skies and the CEs are very Stratty, in my opinion, you know. Yeah, Supermassive is a free plugin, if you can believe it. Such an amazing plugin. That one's really, really cool. Is it a velour shirt? Yeah. I don't know if this is actually vintage, but it's very, very comfortable. Very comfortable. It breathes nicely. They're on sale at the moment on their website. You're all enabling me getting another pedal, aren't you? So, I mean, nothing else really does what it does, right? And I see a lot of stuff for the glitchy side of things, but I know a lot of people just like it as a kind of, you know, like inspiration machine. So if people would want to watch a video with it, I'm happy to spend that money and do a video with it. And if I don't like it, I guess I can flip it. But yeah. Yes, so I should do it. All right, well, this might have to happen over the next month or two. So Nordic Guitar, will Ragdoll come and play in America? We haven't been for a few years, and I really want to come back. So my wife's American, so in-laws are there, and I mean, I'll definitely be coming back, hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months to see everybody. And I would love to come and do some more shows. Still my favorite place in the world to play. Love my velour shirts. Had a green one in that color. Yeah, it's like, it's weird because I can't deal with velvet. Like, I'm one of those people where I touch and I go like, I'm breaking down. Whereas this is, it's on that threshold of, yeah, it doesn't bother me. But if this was velvet, you know, unlike George Costanza, I do not want to be covered in velvet. Been enjoying Warren Cucurullo's whammy pedal work on Duran Duran's wedding album. So good. Warren's an underrated cat, man. Yeah. And that would have been right when that pedal came out, right? Any love for the Carbon Copy Deluxe? You know what? I used to have a Carbon Copy. The first year I went to the States, I bought one and used it on my board for a while, but I've never tried the Deluxe. Where are we at in the chat? What are we talking about? Manifold beta. Man, the other thing on the Eclipse I really like is the PCM70 reverb. Almost more than the reverbs on my PCM70, which kind of sounds like a dumb thing to say, but it's true. Yeah. Florida. Yeah, that would be cool. Man, everything's... I've quite a few of my students who I teach online are in Florida, so... Seems like there's some pretty fun venues to play, and that it's like a country into itself down there, so... Man, that... That's my guitar sound. I've still got an absolutely crazy sound going on. All right, I'm going to play one more Ragdoll song for you guys. I'm going to bounce. I've got a few things to do. It's just after 11 here. Yeah, Satchel is also still using the... what's it called? The amplifier as well, which is kind of cool. I see some love for that unit. I think they sound great. Do you need a visa to go to America? If you're just visiting, there's a visa waiver program for Australians, so that's nice and easy. Kale, what's up, man? I'll stay on for a few more minutes and have a chat. How you been, man? I haven't heard from you recently. I hope you're doing well and your dad are well. Shout out to Kale and Neil down in Bunbury as well. I'm not worthy, Cat Diesel Power. Satchel's a beast on the guitar. Did I also receive some of the older Roland units? Oh, awesome! Yeah, it's kind of fun, man. There are some real diamonds in the rough with the old Rat gear. Some of it's just shit. Like, some of it is just don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's unreliable. The sounds aren't great. You know, if you've got $50 to burn, maybe it's fun to just leave it in your rack and light it up. But some of it is really, really good. And they're classics for a reason. Like, you know, the SPX90, the PCM70, 2290, the H3000, they are great sounding units. You know, some of them do things that really nothing else does. Some of the other stuff is just like, yeah, it's, you know, it's like the saying with guitars. Some old guitars are just old guitars. Some of them are great. Some of them are not great. So, yeah, that's pretty funny. Solo tour starts up Saturday for the next 6 weekends. Are you playing up in Perth at all, Kale? Tell people where you're playing around Bunbury if there's anybody tuning in from there. So, yeah. Yeah, we're actually 12 hours ahead of the East Coast. That is correct. Like, this is me with the noodling stuff the majority of the day, just like... While I'm doing that, there are some more questions. From Hugo, do you still have that polka dot Rhodes pedal? I don't. That belongs to a good friend of mine, so I only borrowed that for a small period of time, but he still has it. Recommend having the high and low pass to play live. Yeah, I was saying, if you rewind in the stream, I've been bringing the high cut, the low pass, down to about 5.1k, and that's been really, really nice. And Do I offer one-on-one lessons via streaming? I do. Yep. You can find my email address on here and email me and we can set something up. I'll send you the rates and things like that. So, Sevenless, first time watching the stream. I've been loving your videos for a while. Do you do any of your own mixing for demos? Can we hear some clips sometime? For the demo tracks that you hear on the channel, I do all of those with varying degrees of success. And I listen back to some and someone's like, whoa, that was a good one. Other times I'm like, ooh, yeah, I kind of wish I could do that one again. So, yeah. I mean, it's pretty... My process for that now is a lot easier because I just kind of use ozone on a lot of stuff. It's like, get the sounds right going in. You know, if I'm demoing a pedal or something, I don't want to process it too much. I want people to hear the pedal, not so much my mixing process on there. So, yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the channel, and I'll do another one of these very, very soon. Michael Lenoff, Florida worked 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to miss my Bogner. Oh, dude, I feel you right there. What budget non-tube power amps would you recommend? Ooh, this is a good question. It depends what your definition of budget is. The Seymour Duncan power stages are pretty popular. I've got the Matrix power amp, which I really like. I don't know if you could consider it a budget option though. And you've got those electro harmonics, kind of like a 44 Magnum and things like that, which are pretty popular as well. When you noodle, what do you think? Do you just think in shapes or do you say in keys? Probably it's more a chordal thing. Like I'm often chasing, say like, okay, so an example might be, a really simple example would be like, say you had a D sus2, you could play those same notes. You could do 5, 7, 9, but you could also do 7, 7, 7, right? So same notes, different voicing. The Milkman amps, yes, as Dan said in the chat. So, and then, so it's kind of like a chordal, and having this big delay thing on isn't really helping me, is it? But doing some, basically just thinking. I try to think of like, what's the bass doing, what's the melody doing, and how am I going to fill it in the middle? Like, say something like this. There's a little bit with a major 7th thing underneath it. And you can do it. Sad Wings Raging. Thank you, man. Take it easy. So, yeah, if it's... And it kind of just depends on what I've been practicing, It's, if I've been listening to some Holdsworth stuff, then I'm going to pull out all the, where is it? I'm in the wrong tuning. If I've been listening to Tonic, it might be a bunch more... It's just kind of it's like semi-conscious would be the thing, where I am trying to listen, but I'm also trying to be like, oh, where could I go next? Do I want to, if I'm setting something up where I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I'm going to go to E7 sus4, E7, am I going to resolve that to like A major? Am I going to do A major, but think like Lydian? And then, something like that, or am I going to be doing A major? to... And you might be going like, well, natural minor. And then pull it down to like, natural minor's almost got the same notes as Dorian, right? What's the thing that makes a Dorian mode a Dorian mode? It's the 4 chord. So if I'm going to go to D, am I going to go D, play minor, or am I going to go... Sorry, I should go maybe something like this. I might want to go. You know, that Dorian thing. Basically, I like I like a lot of movie soundtrack stuff, and a lot of that is going to be really modal, and they're going to do mixed mode stuff. So I'll sit down and work things out. Yeah. And then you kind of just come up with little tricks, you know. And a lot of the time, you kind of just moving through the tricks. And you know, if I put a big shimmer reverb on there or something like that, I get a different result. Something like. Yeah, and there's a you know, a few EJ things, a few Holdsworth things, a few like Joe Parsey, Wes Montgomery things. It's yeah, it's a nice way to engage your musical brain without necessarily having a goal in mind. Yeah. Are you into any shoegaze? Yes, man. Slow Dive is where it's at, bro. I love them. And what's the band? I always forget their name. They do the kind of black gaze stuff, but their new stuff sounds like My Bloody Valentine. Someone in the comments, no doubt, will be able to tell me. But the Yamaha FX550 soft focus preset, I think I was able to do a pretty good job of recreating that in here. This sort of thing. FX550, you're right, Dan. Yeah. Do a bit of this. Something like that anyway. So yeah. Yes, I love that kind of stuff. It's cool to see that a little bit more in the mainstream now. You know, you can like your hair metal, you can like your Pantera, you can like your modern gent, you can like your shoegaze, you can like your blues. It's just all good stuff. Jose Villarreal, hopefully I said that right. Thank you for your 80s hair metal preset. I was in the Rock of Ages musical recently and it helped immensely. Man, that makes my day to hear that. I've seen that musical and it's awesome. So I'm really glad it helped. Sevenless, off the top of your head, what is one song you wish you wrote and why? Let's see, off the top of my head. I mean, you know, would have been pretty cool to even just be a fly on the wall for some of the... Off the top of my head, I got nothing. There's so much stuff I like. Look, I love Suzanne Vega's Solitude Standing album. Would have been cool to write any of those songs because that's one of my favorite like long trip or plane trip kind of things to just bliss out to. So yeah, that would be one. Don't Fear the Reaper, Stairway to Heaven, any of these kind of classic epic 70s songs would have been pretty cool. Yeah, man, there's some songs out there, isn't there? There is some songs when you kind of think about it. It's like, you know, any Journey song, any Bon Jovi song, you'd just be kind of rolling in the constant product placement royalties as well, you know, from a purely commercial aspect. But, you know, I mostly listen to music because I just like it rather than it's the idea of making money out of it. It's like, you want to make money out of music? Don't play music. Just listen to it as a hobby and do something else. Invest in carrots or something, kids. I don't know. Have I ever gotten a guitar plec? Yeah, actually, there's a buddy of mine who owns a plec, and I've had a bunch of them done. And if the person operating the plec knows what's up, then it's going to be pretty awesome. So, all right, I'm going to bounce, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who's threw a super chat my way. It means a lot to me. Frost Motion, I need to go and buy a microcosm now because of you. And look, I'll do another one of these very soon. Everybody go and have a great day. I'm going to play one more Ragdoll song for you. Might do Playing God because we haven't played that one live for a few shows and we played it on Saturday night. I had a great time. Hope you all have a great time. I will see you all on the next one. Take it easy. I just need to bring it up. thanks again, everybody. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you to all the generous super chats in here as well. That is awesome. Be good to one another. Enjoy your day. Go and pick up your guitar and make some rude guitar noises. And I will see you all on the next one. Thank you.